Hi everyone, and welcome to the Get Certified series. Over this 6-part series, we will be talking to you about everything that you need to know in order to get certified. I am Anu, and I will be talking to you about the AdWords fundamental exam today, everything that you need to know in order to successfully take the exam, and also I will be answering your question towards the end of the handout. Before we get started, I'd just like to remind you that this is a live event, so do try and stay with me for the duration of the event. However, if you need a recording of the event, it will be available for you right after the hangout is done, and it will be sent in an email along with some useful resources that can help you take the exam. All right, so let's talk you through the agenda for today. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about, why to advertise online and why pick AdWords, how to plan your campaigns, how to set your budget, how to write successful ads, manage your account, finally finding the right audience for your targeted needs, and also how to bid on it correctly. We'll do a quick review of how to understand if your AdWords account is performing well for you and optimizing the results. And finally, we'll have a quick question and answer session. And I'll be asking you some questions too, so keep your pens and pencils ready. Why online advertising? This is a question that we get really often. And for people who've worked in traditional agencies, you'd know that online advertising and traditional advertising are starkly different. The huge difference is largely that in traditional advertising, you look for your customers. You put an ad out there with a certain demographic in mind and really hope that your demographic finds you. With online advertising, the major difference is that the customers are already looking for you. They're already browsing the internet, looking for your keywords or your search terms, and they're wanting to engage with a business like you. Online advertising is also much easier to measure because it will help you get to a targeted audience that you sort of pick and you choose, and also will give you real-time statistics such as how many people clicked on your ad, how many people actually purchased something from you right after clicking on your ad, making it easy for you to optimize your campaigns in the future. You can also reach customers across multiple devices, from desktops to mobile phones, tablets, whatever be your choice, and across multiple platforms. You can find customers while they're searching for you, you can find customers while they're browsing the internet, or you can engage with customers using video formats. These features essentially allow you to adapt your campaign over time and help you find your targeted audience at the best price possible for you. So how do we plan a campaign and write a great ad? Before we go into how to write a great ad, I have to tell you where your ads can be shown once you're on AdWords. When you advertise on AdWords, your ad can appear on a plethora of different platforms. They can appear on Google Search when people are typing in the search terms that you specify, also known as keywords. They can appear as rich media ads or rich display ads, which would include videos, images, or dynamic ads all over the internet on our display network, which includes our display partners such as, say, the App Store, YouTube, and a bunch of other websites. And also, you can choose to have engaging video formats and engage with your customers directly on YouTube, which is one of our bigger platforms. What does a standard ad look like? Usually when we think of AdWords, we think about a text ad. Recently, we had a revamp which allows you to engage with your customers in a larger and longer text ad. So we now have 2 headlines, an 80-character description line, and a display URL and a final URL. So the final URL is now essentially described by your display URL, and it's part of the display URL that you enter. You can choose to specify a certain path that you want to showcase on your display URL, and that is what will be shown to your your customers. So in order to provide a quality user experience, however, Google does have very strict policy guidelines around what is allowed in an ad or not. So I would definitely recommend that you engage with these guidelines and look them up after this hangout is done and know what you're in for. But overall, a standard text ad looks like something that's represented on the extreme right of the screen right now. You may ask me, how do I create a good text ad then? What is a good text ad even? There are a few qualities that I've sort of surmised here on this slide for you that you must keep in mind while writing a text ad. The first one is always highlight your USP. What makes you different to your competitor? Why should I click on your ad? Do you offer me free shipping? Let me know that. The second is include your prices, promotions, or any information that will make me as a customer want to click on your ad. Do you offer lower prices? Are you having a discount currently? Definitely use your ad space to let me know. Also include at least one of your keywords. Your keywords are essentially your search terms. So if I'm looking for women's hats, right? And if I see an ad which says women hats on sale or hats for women on sale, I am definitely more likely to click on it. Similarly, using mobile and using extensions is extremely important. So having a mobile-friendly website that can lead me to an experience that is useful for me on mobile is definitely a good idea. If you're, say, a restaurant and I'm roaming around in a 1 mile radius near you, you'd want to use a location extension and show me your ad on my mobile phone, increasing my likelihood of picking your restaurant and actually coming and paying you a visit. Another key element is matching your ad text to your landing page. Say you promise me women's hats on your ads, but when I go to your landing page, I see hats for men. I'm more likely to click away from that, which is why matching your ad text to your landing page becomes a crucial experience. There are also a bunch of other guidelines that you can find in our effective ad writing document that will be linked to you. And you can go over that and hopefully create ads that are crucial to your business and highlight your USPs. In addition to creating an ad text, it's also necessary that you use ad extensions. Now, ad extensions, as the name suggests, are essentially extensions that extend from your main ad text. I know it sounds complicated and odd, but if you look at the screen on the right-hand side, you'll see that below the main ad text, there are 4 extensions that are shown. These are called site links, and these link me directly to other pages on your website rather than your main landing page. So say I'm buying shoes online, but I'm interested in a specific kind of shoes, say stilettos for a party that I'm going to. I can click directly on your site link and be directed to your stiletto page on your site instead of having to go through your main landing page and then go through to the stiletto page. There are largely 2 types of site links, manual and automated. Now, manual site links are those that you as an advertiser manually add into your AdWords account, and automated extensions are those that AdWords automatically appends where it deems fit. So manual extensions, as I already mentioned, could be site link extensions. There could be call extensions, which showcases your phone number, location extension, which showcases your registered Google location, review extensions, which showcases any third-party reviews that you've gotten, say a call-out in a local newspaper or a feature in a magazine. Also call-out extensions, which are extremely useful because they help you sort of highlight your USPs in addition to your site links. You also have automated extensions such as consumer ratings, social extensions, seller ratings, dynamic structured snippets, etc. And you can go and peruse more about them in detail on our Help Center articles. Now that we know how to write a good ad, how about how much do I bid on the ad? How do I set my budget? How is my cost calculated? Essentially, how much do I pay Google? Before I get into how much you pay Google, let me tell you how it's determined, how your bid or how much you pay is determined. One crucial factor is your quality score. Now, this is something that you must have heard of and is crucial to AdWords. Your quality score is essentially determined by 3 major factors: your landing page experience, your expected click-through rate on the ad, and the ad relevance. Let's break it down. What is your expected click-through rate? Simply put, it's the amount of time a user will actually click on your ad as opposed to the amount of times that the user is shown an ad, right? So if I click out on your ad 1 out of 3 times, that's 1 by 3, and that becomes your CTR. Now, your CTR is an extremely crucial factor because it's the most important factor of your quality score. So your quality score is computed based on your historical CTR in the account and also the CTR of the display URL that you're using. So historically, if your site has seen good click-through rates and users tend to click on it, it's good news for you, and AdWords will take that into account. Now, what about ad relevance? Simply put, ad relevance is essentially how relevant your ad text is to your keywords or the search terms that you've inputted into AdWords, and how relevant is your ad text to your landing page. So do your keywords talk about women's shoes? Does your ad also consistently talk about women's shoes? And finally, when I actually go onto the landing page, does it also show me women's shoes? So how relevant these three factors are to each other is basically how your ad relevance is computed. And finally, landing page experience. Now, landing page experience is quite crucial to user experience. Once I click onto your ad, that's only half the battle won. I still need to go through your website and convert for you or provide revenue to you. So how easy is it for a user to navigate your website? Is it mobile friendly? Is it easy for me to contact you as a business? All become important tenets of landing page experience. Now, that's a lot of information that I've given you about quality score. You might wonder, why is this important, Anu? Why are you telling me this? Let me tell you why. Your ad rank is essentially a function of your bid and your quality score. So every time you bid on, say, a keyword here, women's hats in this case, I know women's shoes, women's hats are my favorites, but bear with me. Say you bid on this keyword and your competitor also bids on this keyword. How do you determine who shows in first position, you or your competitor? You may think it's just a function of your bid, but it's not. AdWords will look at both your bid and your quality score. And in case there's a tie between your bid and your quality score between you and your competitor, we will look at the impact of the ad extensions that you have in place. Based on this, AdWords will assign a rank to you. Now, your rank is essentially what determines where you show on the search page and also how much you pay for it. Let's look at the example of a real-time auction. So we have three competitors here, Dave, Susan, and George. Dave, as you see, is bidding $1 and he has a quality score of 10, which is the maximum that one can have. Susan is matching Dave's bid at $1 but has a slightly lower quality score at 8. And George, on the other hand, is outbidding both of them at 2.35 but has a much lower quality score at only 3. Now, the way AdWords functions is that while your bid might be $1, you only need to pay the amount needed to beat your closest competitor. In this case, Dave is in the best position. He has the highest quality score. He's matching the bid of his closest competitor, which is why he just ends up paying 81 cents, which is the amount that is needed to beat Susan out. Susan, on the other hand, has a slightly lower quality score. She has a lower bid than George. However, because of her quality score, she will only end up paying 89 cents. And finally, you have George, who ends up paying the minimum in the auction, or the minimum that is required to enter the auction, regardless of what his bid was. And that's because of his quality score. So as you can see, your quality score is a huge factor of how much you end up paying on AdWords, which is why it's quite important to make sure you optimize your landing page, your ads, and your keywords to maximize this. Now we know how much you pay per auction, but how do you budget yourself on AdWords? Essentially, in AdWords, you set a monthly budget on a campaign level. Say I set a monthly budget of $10. Now, in a month, that campaign can spend 30.4 times my monthly budget. 30.4 is the average amount of days in a month, which means that the campaign can spend 30.4 into 10, $304 in this case. Now, there might be instances where you see that your campaign is spending a little bit more on a daily basis. I might spend $11 on one day. And that is completely normal. The system might overcompensate on one day, but overall in a month, it will only spend 30.4 times the amount that you've specified as your daily budget. You have two methods to spend your budget, either accelerated or standard. Accelerated is when you want to exhaust your budget as quickly as possible, or standard is when you want to standardize the, how your budget is used all over the day And therefore, AdWords will sort of budget it out and chunk it up into smaller blocks and make sure that your ads are serving throughout the day. So it really is your choice on what is necessary to you and what is fundamental to your success as a business. Wow, after we've spoken a lot about how much AdWords costs and how to optimize for your bids, let's have a look at your account structure. So your AdWords account is essentially an overarching entity, right? That is where you set your billing information, you house various campaigns in it, you have your unique email address and password that you sign in with and are led to your AdWords account too. Within this, you can have multiple campaigns. Now let's take the example of a retailer who sells women's shoes. I can have different campaigns for, say, party shoes. I can have a campaign for everyday shoes. I can have a campaign for office wear shoes. At the campaign level is where you set your budget, where you set your location and language targeting, and where you set your overall bids as well. Within these campaigns, you will house ad groups. Now, these ad groups is essentially where you put in your keywords, which is your search terms, and your ads. So coming back to our example, say I have a campaign for party shoes and I am targeting all of New York for it. Within this, I can have, say, 2 ad groups. One could be kitten heels and one could be stilettos, right? And within stilettos, I will have keywords such as stilettos for parties or stilettos for women or high heels for women, wherein within the other ad group, which is kitten heels, I'll have short heels for women or kitten heels for parties. Those type of keywords which will trigger the correct ads. And I'll have matching ads within these ad groups as well. So essentially the hierarchy goes, you have your account on top, then your campaigns, and then your ad groups. Now, a lot of you might be working for agencies or working with multiple clients and using multiple AdWords accounts on a daily basis. Since only one email can be associated with an AdWords account, we understand that it can be painful for you to constantly go through your various accounts, which is why you have the option to create something called an AdWords manager account. What this does is it's essentially just an umbrella account that houses multiple AdWords accounts underneath it. So you can click through to your umbrella account, which is your manager account, and then access all the AdWords accounts that are your client accounts, which are linked to it. All right, let's talk about campaign types in the meantime. So campaign types, there are various campaign types that you can use in AdWords, and it's largely dependent on your network. So you have the search network, which is the simplest and often the most used type, which is where you target Google search and Google search partners across the net, and you show text ads based on users' queries and intents. You then have the display network, which shows image ads or rich media ads. And these are ads that essentially are shown across a plethora of websites, which are our display partners, including, say, the Play Store or YouTube or other well-known publications and sites. And they are essentially used as a way to brand yourselves or as a way to sort of grab awareness and tell people that you're out there. If you want to make the best of both networks, we have that option for you as well, which is called the search network with display select. Primarily, your ads will be shown on the search network, but they will also be eligible for display network placements where necessary. Now, you also have other options such as a universal app campaign, wherein you can choose to promote your app across Google properties, or a shopping campaign, which is amazing for retailers, where you can show a price, a photo of your product, any promotions that you might be running, and this runs on the Google search properties and on the Google shopping property. And finally, you have the YouTube campaigns, which are essentially video campaigns that will help you target either the display network or YouTube itself with in-stream ads, which are also called pre-roll campaigns, or display ads across YouTube. Now, there are 2 large campaign subtypes. So we've understood the campaign types so far, which is segmented on networks, but campaign subtypes is essentially based on how much information do you want to see in the campaigns. So there are standard subtype, which is essentially when you want to see minimum amount of information in the campaign. You don't want to play around too much with the settings. So you see basic location and language targeting, you see basic bid adjustments and settings there, and common ad extensions. Now, if you choose the advanced subtype, that is where you will tend to see advanced language and location targeting. You will also tend to see advanced bidding options and also ad scheduling and delivery options, which essentially allows you to play around a lot more with your ads. All right, now how about finding the right audience for your ads? Who do you target and how do you find them across the internet? Well, Google largely works on keywords. Keywords are search terms or queries. Say I type in a search term camera. That is my search term. Now you have added that into your AdWords account as a keyword. So AdWords matches it up, matches my search term to your keywords and serves your ad to me. That is simply how it works. But there are a lot of keyword match types that you can choose from. So let's go about it in chronological order. You have broad match, which is the broadest match type. It'll match to, say, misspellings, synonyms, any variation of your keyword term. So if you say buy ladies hats, it can match to absolutely anything that has the words ladies hats or any variation of it. Then you have broad match modifier, which matches largely to variations of the keyword that you've entered, but it will not match to misspellings or essentially it won't be too broad, so it will only match to a certain amount of variations. So it will only match to, say, contextual variations, and it wouldn't account for misspellings or synonyms of the word. Then you have phrase match, wherein the phrase that you entered as a keyword must be exactly contained in the search term of the user. And you have exact match, which semantically matches the search term of the user and only makes sure that your ad shows up if the search term is contextually similar to your keyword, right? So essentially your keyword must be an exact or a very, very close match of the search term for your ads to show. You also have negative match. What that does is that, say you don't want your ads to show up for a certain term. Say you don't want your ads to show up for men's hats. You can add that in as a negative search term, negative keyword, and make sure that your ads don't serve for such terms. You might want, especially if you're starting out, you might want to get a few ideas on what are good keywords for your business, which is why within the AdWords interface, you have something called the Keyword Planner. What that does is it's a tool that's available to you under Tools section of your AdWords interface. And what that does is it allows you to get volume trends for suggested keywords for your industry, or if you have a bunch of keywords in mind, it'll tell you what the historic trends are or what are good keywords based on your business model. So it's a very, very useful tool for you to sort of use and get familiar with. Now that's all about the search network, but how does display targeting work? On display network, you have a bunch of options. So you do have keywords, which are largely two types: audience keywords and content keywords. So audience keywords are essentially you targeting people who have looked for similar search terms in the past, regardless of what website I am on. So say I have looked a lot for women's shoes in the past or women's hats in the past, and that is your keyword. But I'm currently on a website that's all about finance and world politics. I will still be eligible to see your ads based on my past search history. Meanwhile, content keywords are basically keywords that target relevant websites or apps. So say I have, again, women's shoes or women's hats mentioned on the article that I'm currently reading on the internet. That is when I will be able to see your ads based on your content keywords. You then have topic targeting. So you can choose to target certain topics across the internet, such as, say, politics, or such as shoes or clothing and accessories. You have placement targeting. So if you know there are a bunch of websites that your demographic or your intended demographic definitely frequents, you can add them in as placements and choose to bid specifically on them. You have remarketing. Now this is an essentially very, very useful feature wherein you can choose to retarget your ads to people who've been to your website before. So say I come to your website, I add a few things in my cart, but I completely forget about it. You can then show me your ads in a very, very targeted manner and go ahead and remarket those products to me, making me more likely to come back, click on your ad, and actually complete my purchase. You also have interest-based audience. So you have affinity audiences, which are people who are interested in a certain topic. So say I'm a skiing aficionado, I'll fall into that affinity audience. Or you have in-market audiences, so people who are currently in the market for your product, right? So it could be that I'm looking on the internet for a ski lodge, and that would make me an in-market audience for you if you're a ski lodge owner. You also have demographic targeting, wherein you can target people based on their gender, their age, or their parental status. And that's essentially the ways that you can target people across the display network. Now, one crucial thing to remember is that you have two targeting settings here. You have target and bid, which means that the audience or the user must fall into a certain bracket, and that's the only way that AdWords is going to bid on them. So say you say I want to target and bid only on people who are looking for ski lodges in France right now, or ski lodges in general. That is the setting that you would use to make sure that you're not targeting anyone else. But say you want to target people who are looking largely for ski lodges, but you also want to bid on people who are looking online for ski wear or ski gear or of anything of that sort. You can then use the bid only option to add them in as an audience, and you can potentially just bid on them. So you don't restrict yourself to targeting them, but you are free to go ahead and bid on them. So that's the difference between the two targeting settings on the display network. Similar to the keyword planner, you also have the display planner that helps you go through the display inventory that Google offers, gives you ideas and suggestions on your placements, what you should be paying for your placements, etc. And it's again a very, very handy tool, especially if you're just getting started with AdWords. Now, apart from all of this, apart from targeting based on keywords or based on the network, you have something called location targeting, which is largely even across all the networks. So you can choose to target, say, a very specific location, such as New York, or an extremely specific location, even within New York, such as a radius that you're looking at. So say you want to target people only 1 mile within your physical location, you can go ahead and do that. You can also exclude people from certain locations from seeing your ads. So say you're sitting in New York and you don't want people in Washington to see your ads, you can go ahead and add that as a negative target location almost, or exclude that location from your targeting settings. You also have language setting, which allows you to target people based on their browser language or based on the language that they are essentially browsing the internet on. However, be aware that your ads in your keywords must already be in this language, as AdWords does not really translate ads for you. You can also do device targeting, especially in a mobile-first world that we live in. Device targeting is quite a useful feature. You can go ahead and bid more on people who are browsing your website or browsing your ads on a mobile device around your location. Or you can choose to absolutely exclude mobiles and concentrate only on desktop. So you can have a variety of targeting settings, and you can choose which device is more important to you, or if all devices are more or less equivalent to you, depending on your business model. Say, for example, you're a pizzeria based out of New York again, and you want to make sure that you're really showing up on mobile devices, especially for people in a 1 mile location, on a 1 mile radius of your shop. You can go ahead and then add in that location targeting and add in a mobile adjustment or add in a mobile bid only for people within that 1 mile, right? And who are only browsing for pizza locations or pizzerias in New York on their mobile devices. Now, what is your bidding strategy? We've learned a lot about how to find the correct audience, but how much do you pay for them and on what basis do you pay for them? Finding the right bid type for your campaign is quite crucial. There are largely 4 bid types that you can go for based on your business objectives. So if your objective is to get clicks, and if you want to be extremely aware of what your, how much you're paying or how much you're bidding, and you want to be in complete control of it, you can go for a cost per click strategy, which is a CPC strategy, where you're paying based on each click that AdWords is giving you. Or if your idea is to get more impressions, you can use a VCPM strategy, wherein you're paying for 1,000 impressions. So you decide how much you're okay with to pay for 1,000 impressions, and that's how you bid. Or you can use a CPA strategy, which is a cost per acquisition strategy. In this strategy, You say one conversion is worth $10 for me, and therefore I want to get as many conversions as I can at that cost per acquisition. So you want to get a cost per acquisition of say around $8. You can go ahead and specify to AdWords that I'm willing to spend $8 to get one conversion out of AdWords. And finally, you have a view-based strategy. Now, this is largely for video campaigns, especially, wherein a view is what is monetized and what is valuable to you, and you can go ahead and bid based on this as well. Now, within these large strategy types, you also have flexible bidding strategies. Now, these are usually automated or semi-automated strategies that allow you to harness the power of AdWords systems and the knowledge that the machine and the system has built over a long time. So if you are looking to get more conversions out of your campaign, you can use an enhanced CPC strategy. What this does is that you set a base bid for yourself, and then you give the system the leeway to increase your bids by around 30% or completely decrease your bids based on the likelihood of a click turning to a conversion. You also have a target CPA strategy, wherein all you do is tell the system how much your cost per acquisition or your target cost per acquisition is, and then let the system do its best to optimize your keyword bids for you and get you that target cost per acquisition. You also have maximized clicks. Say your intent is to just get as many clicks as you can on your ads. This is a strategy that you'll use wherein you tell the system, this is my budget, get me as many clicks as you can within this amount on a daily basis. And that's the strategy that is most useful to you in such instances. You have target search page location. Say you always want to appear on the top of the first page or on the first page at least. You can go ahead and specify your budget and then ask the system to optimize your ads such that you're always showing on a high or on a first page basis. You also have target return on ad spend, which, as the name suggests, is again wherein you specify your estimated return on ad spend or your targeted return on ad spend, and then you go ahead and then you let sort of the system do its magic and get you that return on ad spend. Now, one thing that I would want you to be careful of is that these strategies are largely based on the amount of data that you have in the system already. So the longer your AdWords campaigns run, the more data the system has in order to optimize as per your market objectives or business needs. And finally, you have target outranking share, which is essentially a strategy that you can use to sort of outrank in other domain that you are probably in competition with, and make sure that your ads always appear above that domain, however much you need to bid for that, and that is what the system would sort of decide. Now, there are three major types of bid adjustments that you can add. What bid adjustments do is essentially give you more control over when, where, and how your ads appear. Bid adjustments let you increase or decrease the bid in order to be more competitive on a certain network or on a certain place, in a certain location, or on a certain, say, device type. So you have location bid adjustments where you target specific ads to specific locations and choose to pay more or less on these locations. You have device bid adjustments where you target your ads to multiple devices, but maybe a mobile device is more valuable to you and you're willing to pay more on a mobile device, which is when you add in a mobile bid adjustment. And finally, you have an ad scheduling bid adjustment. Say weekdays are not as great for you, but weekends are amazing for sales. You might want to bid slightly more on weekends and slightly less on weekdays, which is what ad scheduling and ad schedule bid adjustments allow you to do. Now that we've spoken about how to set up your AdWords account, how do you know that it's doing well for you? How do you measure and optimize your AdWords account? The most crucial thing to understanding how your AdWords account is doing is taking advantage of the tools that the system offers to measure the performance. One such tool is conversion tracking. What this allows you to do is add in a snippet of code on your website or a JavaScript code on your website and allows you to track actions that users take on your website after clicking on your ads. So say your goal is to get more form signups, you can go ahead and track this using the AdWords conversion tracking code and see which campaigns led to more form signups or how many form signups came during a certain time period from a certain campaign. This becomes extremely crucial, especially when you're optimizing your account in order to get more conversions or in order to decrease your cost per conversion and get the most out of AdWords. Another handy tool that's actually free is the Google Analytics tool. What that allows you to do is it gives you rich insight into how people are engaging and interacting with your site. It goes vastly beyond AdWords, and it allows you to see different paid for sources of advertising that you might have, how users are interacting with it, what landing pages do they frequent, which pages do they sort of exit from. So it's really an in-depth analysis of what works on your website and what doesn't, and can be crucial to optimizing your success, especially online. What are the reports that you can look at in AdWords in order to understand if you're doing well or not? So you have the Dimensions tab, which allows you to see various things such as what time of day did better for you, what search terms did better for you, and a bunch of other information such as what geographic locations did users come from when clicking on your ads. You also have the search terms report, which allows you to see what search terms users inputted while looking for your ads and when your ads were served, and how these search terms performed for you. You have the auction insights report, which allows you to see how your competitors are performing. So it'll give you, a representative example of what an typical auction for you looks like, how you rank against your competitors, how much on average are your competitors getting in terms of average position or impression share, and how many impressions are they commanding as opposed to you. You also have your top movers report, which allows you to see, where your maximum movement has come from in the past month, what campaigns have really done well or what haven't done as well. And you have your paid and organic report, which allows you to see your paid search versus your organic search. Now, your return on investment is essentially the ratio of net profits to cost, and measuring ROI on AdWords is essential to knowing if your campaigns are succeeding or not. So your ROI, as in general, is your revenue minus your cost of goods sold by your cost of goods sold. So in AdWords, using conversion tracking, you can assign a value to each sign up that comes to your site. So say you someone makes a purchase on your site after coming through from an AdWords ad, you can go ahead and assign it a value, which is how you know what your revenue is. You can look at your AdWords cost to tell what your cost of goods sold is, and that's how you can sort of optimize for your return on investment. Now, there are a few things that I'll quickly walk you through in order to keep in mind when you're trying to improve your campaigns. Your clicks and your click-through rate is extremely important. As we discussed, it's an important component of your quality score. Then you have a keyword report, and you can run a keyword diagnosis to see which keywords are doing well for you and which keywords are not performing at the moment. You also have impressions, which is essentially how frequently is your ad shown or how frequently is your ad actually winning an auction and actually showing up to users. You have reach and frequency, wherein reach is the number of visitors that see your ad and frequency is the number of times that they see your ad. Then one thing that you would want to do is assess how multiple ads are performing. So you might have different ad copies in your ad group, and you might want to assess how they are performing against one another, and you will see data being reported against them, such as how many clicks a certain ad gets, how many impressions a certain ad gets, what's the average CTR on these ads, and then you can use that to determine which ad copy your users are responding best to. You also have something which is a very useful feature called campaign experiments. This is very useful for those of you who want to run an A and B test. So A versus B test, wherein you have one landing page and another version of the landing page, and you want to see which one your users respond best to. You can go ahead and use campaign experiments to do that, or you can test different ad copies against one another. Really, there's a lot of things that you can do to sort of assess what is working best for you. That's pretty much all that we had for today. Essentially, you can now go ahead and take the exam. It's 120 minutes long, and there are 100 questions that you need to answer. You would need around 80% to pass, and it's valid for 1 year. If you hang on now, and we've heard from a lot of you guys that you want to quickly assess how useful this session was for you, so get your pen and paper out. I have a few questions for you, and I'll be putting them up on the screen, and towards the end, I will let you know the answer as well. In the meantime, I'm going to look up what questions you have for me and do my best to answer them as well. So get ready for a fundamentals Q&A session. I'll quickly read this out for those of you who are still with us, which is, what is the benefit of advertising online? A, you show your ads on your website to make money. B, you reach potential customers. C, you improve your organic ranking. or D, you get information on customer automatically? I'll give you a minute or two to sort of answer the question, sort of write it down if you need to, and I'll tell you the right answer as well. Okay, so the right answer in this case is B, which is to reach potential customers. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following items is not a component of quality score? Ad relevance, landing page experience, your max CPC or your maximum cost per click, or your expected click-through rate. So is that relevance, your landing page experience, your cost per click paid, or your expected click-through rate? All right, perfect. In this case, it's your maximum cost per click that doesn't really feature in your quality score at all, and that's essentially a part of your ad rank, but not your quality score. Perfect. I'm going to look over to this side now, where I can quickly see the questions that you guys have asked me, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. Thank you very much. Does a higher quality score mean less CPC? A higher quality score doesn't always mean less CPC, but it can in most instances, because your ad rank is essentially a function of your quality score and your bid. So in most cases, you will tend to find that if you have a higher quality score, you do end up paying less than what you expected. How does budgeting affect ads? Thank you for the question. Now that's a very broad question, but budgeting can have a huge impact on ads, essentially in terms of the available impressions to you. So say you have 100 available impressions, and you have a budget only to sort of spend on 50 available impressions, right? In such a case, your budget can limit your ads from getting you the true potential that is offered by AdWords, and that's like largely the way that budgeting affects your ads. And so to make sure that you're not limited by budget, which is something that you will see appear up in the AdWords interface in case your budget is running short, you can look at your impression share and see how much impression share you're currently commanding in the auction, and see if your budget is good enough for that. And there's also a metric called impression share lost due to budget, which is essentially what you do or what you look at to see how much of impressions you're losing out on due to budget. All right, please provide an example for keywords match types. Okay, I'm going to quickly go back to the slide which has the keyword match types. Bear with me, and I'll give you an example as well. Perfect. So if you see broad match, say for example, your example search could be buy ladies hats, but your keyword in this case was women's hats. And that's because buy ladies hats is a synonym and a variation of the term women's hats, which is why it'll be matched to that keyword. Now say you put the same keyword in broad match modifier, your example search would be hats for women, which essentially contains the same word, not synonyms of it, and is in any order, and that's how it's matching. Then you finally have phrase match, which is where you've put in the term exactly women's hats, and that is a term that must appear exactly in that order in the search term. So buy women's hats is what will trigger the ad here. Women's buy hats will not trigger the ad at all. It doesn't make too much sense either. And your exact match is women's hats, which means your term needs to exactly be women's hats or mean women's hats in a close contextual manner. So in this case, if I type hats for ladies, it would not trigger my ad at all. I hope that answers your question. All right, please explain placement targeting. Alrighty, let me move on to placement targeting. Right, so placement targeting is say the Wall Street Journal website does really well for you because you're a financial service provider and you know that's a placement that you definitely want to be on. You can go ahead to the display network tab in your campaign, add that in as a placement for you, and then add a bid against that specifically for your campaign. So that is how placement targeting works. There are two types of placement targeting. What I just explained to you is managed placements, which is what happens when you decide what placements you want to show on, as opposed to automatic placements, which is when you leave it up to AdWords to find the best placements for you and show your ads across the internet on our display network sites. I do hope that I've answered your question there. I'm sorry, but I'm unable to read the first question. I'll move on to the next one. Can you elaborate more about bid only and bid and target in the display network presentation? All right. Target and bid versus bid only. Okay, so let's stick with the first example that I gave you, which is say you're targeting based on placements, right? So your placements is on target and bid, which basically means that you exclusively want to target people and bid on them when they're browsing the Wall Street Journal site. Now, for example, you might have a bunch of financial aficionados that fall in your in-market audience, right? You don't necessarily want to target them, that is, you don't want to exclusively show your ads to them, but when they are browsing the Wall Street Journal and they do happen to fall into that category, you want to bid slightly higher on them. That's when you use bid only. So target and bid is when you actually use only that method to find people. So you will say that I will only want to show my ads if people are on Wall Street Journal at this point in time. Wherein bid only is that I want to base this on my targeting method. I definitely want to show ads to people who are on the Wall Street Journal, but if they fall into a certain category, I wouldn't mind bidding higher or lower on them. All right. Okay, so the next question is, under bidding types, what is the difference between impressions and views? Okay, let's move on to bidding types. Perfect. So impressions is essentially each time your ad shows up, right? So impression is, say your ad is eligible to show up in an auction and it does so and it shows up to people. That is essentially what an impression counts as. A view, on the other hand, is sort of exclusive to videos wherein people actually view your ad. So they would need to view at least say 30 seconds or 5 seconds, a certain length, depending on your on the type that you've selected or the type of ad that you've selected, and only then will it count as a video view. So an impression is your ad serving. So the fact that your video showed up is an impression, but whether the user actually engages with it and actually views it is what would determine if it's a view or not. Okay, please give an example of target ROAS. Okay, let's move on to that one. Target return on ad spend is essentially when you automatically set your bids to maximize your conversion value while trying to reach an average return on ad spend. Say your average return on ad spend is supposed to be $8, right? So you're hoping to make $8 each time, or that's the return that you're hoping to get out of AdWords. You can specify that to the system, and the system will try and make sure that you get that much worth. Let me see if I can, give me 1 second. Yeah, so essentially that is how target return on ad spend works, wherein your return on ad spend is basically what you make out of AdWords as opposed to the amount that you're spending on AdWords, right? So if I'm spending X amount on AdWords and I make Y amount of profit on AdWords, my the ratio between that is what will determine my return on ad spend. So I hope that that's a good example. Okay, please explain placement targeting. We've done that. Can we target iOS devices only on AdWords? Yes, there are certain campaign types that you can run to target iOS devices, and yes, you can run iOS devices targeted campaigns, especially on the display network. It's not possible to do that on search, but you can go ahead and do that on either app campaigns or on display network campaigns, where you can choose to show your ads only on devices that are running on iOS. All right. Negative match, can you give some better example? All right, sorry that my example wasn't clear. Let's go back to, yes, perfect. Okay, so say you're selling, let's go with the example on screen here. Say you're selling baseball hats, right? You know your target audience is largely men. You don't really want search terms such as baseball hats for women to show up because that is not something that you sell or that is not something that you stock. So you can go ahead and add women as a negative keyword. What that does is that each time the search term contains the word women, it automatically disqualifies your ads from showing up. That's essentially that. Okay. Okay, so can you explain mirrored campaigns? That's the first one that I've missed out. Now, mirrored campaigns, as far as I'm aware, is essentially not a terminology that Google really uses. But from what I understand, what you do is you split up your keywords and you split them up into exact match versus broad match. So what you do is that you run two essentially identical campaigns. One of them contains only exact match keywords and one of them contains broad match keywords. What broad match keywords does is that it lets you get the maximum amount of traffic that you can get in from your advertising, and it also gives you ideas about what keywords people are potentially looking for when they're searching on the internet for your services. And then you have the exact same campaign running in exact match, wherein you already know what are the specific terms that people are looking for, and you add only those keywords in on exact match there, which usually leads to lower CPCs. Now, again, this is not really a Google recommended practice or something that we use at Google regularly, but it is something that you will see on the internet being mentioned quite a lot, wherein you run two exact identical campaigns but with different keywords depending on their match types and depending on your search terms. I think that's pretty much all the questions that we had. And if you have any questions, feel free to keep them popping on the chat and we'll try our best to answer them later. Thank you so much for joining us. Do see us next week when we come to you with another edition of the Get Certified series. And good luck for your exams. I really hope that you do well in it. Bye.